The silence in the living room was so thick you could feel it. My Uncle John, a retired Navy SEAL captain who never raised his voice, was standing at parade rest. He was rigid, his face pale, and he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at his son. His voice was low, full of gravel, and absolutely terrifying. "Son, you will stand up, you will look your cousin in the eye, and you will apologize for your profound ignorance. Noah." My cousin Mark just sat there, frozen, his face a mask of total disbelief and humiliation. But that confrontation, that wasn't the beginning. That was the end of something that had started weeks earlier, at what was supposed to be a normal, chaotic family barbecue. It was bright, sunny, and loud. The exact kind of setting my family loved. I, on the other hand, just tried to blend in. To them, I'm Maya, the paper pusher for the army, the one with the boring, safe admin job. It's a role they assigned me years ago, and a role they were comfortable with. Then came my cousin, Mark, the family's undisputed golden boy who works in finance and never lets anyone forget it. He swaggered over, beer in hand, holding court as usual. "Hey, Maya!" he boomed, loud enough for everyone to hear. Still alphabetizing spreadsheets for the generals? 'Cause my portfolio is a Yupa 30%. A few aunts and uncles chuckled. He wasn't done. "Seriously, what do you even edo? Push paper?" A familiar coldness settled in my stomach. It was the same condescending tone I'd heard when I graduated from my specialized training and he just bragged about his new company car. I'd had enough. I put my paper plate down, my hand steady. "No, Mark," I said, my voice quiet but clear. "I fly." He actually snorted, delighted. This was even funnier to him. "Oh, you fly? Like Microsoft Flight Simulator? What, do you have a little call sign?" He grinned at his audience. "Stapler? Coffee run?" The laughter was louder this time. I just looked him dead in the eye. My voice went flat, cold. "Iron Widow." The word just hung in the air. The music, the laughter, everything just stopped. Across the yard, I saw a hand freeze mid-bite of a burger. It was my uncle, John, Mark's father, and a decorated retired Navy SEAL captain. He's a man who rarely speaks but sees absolutely everything. His face, usually so tan, had drained of all color. He knew the name. He slowly put his plate down, his eyes locked on me, and then he turned to his son. This is when it happened. "Son, say you're sorry." Mark was completely baffled, his arrogance shattering. "What? Why? It's just a joke." My uncle's voice cut through the entire yard like a knife. "That is not a joke. That is a call sign." He took a step toward his son. "You don't know what that name means. Apologize. No, Mark, terrified of his father in a way he never was of anyone else, just stammered some pathetic apology. The party was over. The family was just staring, completely bewildered, looking from me to my uncle and back again. Mark was left shaking. Not with fear, but with a deep, furious humiliation. He had been dressed down, and he blamed Ame for it. Mark's apology was a choked whisper. He had no idea what he'd said, only that his father, his hero, was suddenly terrified for him. Mark didn't see it as a warning. He saw it as a challenge. To understand the reckoning he forced, you have to understand the two worlds I was living. For my entire life I've lived in two completely separate, parallel worlds. The first world is the one my family built for me. I saw it play out perfectly a few months before the barbecue, at a family dinner. My cousin Mark was being celebrated, and I mean celebrated, with champagne toasts and everything, for getting a corner office. It was really just a cubicle with a partial window, but to hear them talk, you'd think he'd just been named CEO. My aunt, Karen, Mark's mother, and a woman who believed success was something you could brag about at a dinner party, was just gushing. "He's on the fast track," she announced. "They only give those offices to the real rising stars." Later, I tried to share a small piece of my own news. I'd just been selected to be an instructor for my unit's specialized training program. It was a huge deal, a mark of deep respect from my command. I mentioned it, and Aunt Karen just patted my hand. "Oh, that's sweet, dear," she said, her eyes already scanning the room for someone more important. "Teaching the new secretaries how to file? It's good to have a steady skill." I just nodded. What could I say? This was my entire life. The praise heaped on Mark for his cubicle. It wasn't just about the office. It was about the business school tuition they all chipped in for, the endless networking calls my uncles made for him. I, on the other hand, was told my passion for flying was a phase and that the military was a place for people who couldn't hack it in the real world. To them, I am the boring, unambitious one. I'm the black sheep who took a safe government job because I lacked Mark's drive. In the family group chat, my nickname is the admin. They genuinely, truly believe I spend my days in a gray, windowless room alphabetizing spreadsheets. They have no concept of my other life. And then, there's the reality. My other world is dark, loud, and smells of hydraulic fluid and jet fuel. It's the green glow of a cockpit's head-up display reflecting in my visor. It's the deep, bone-rattling whump 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 of rotor blades cutting through the air. In this world, I'm not Maya the admin. In this world, I am Iron Widow. I'm the lead aviator in an aircraft my family wouldn't even recognize, often on missions they aren't cleared to know exist. I remember one night a few weeks before that barbecue, when an ODA, an Operational Detachment Alpha team, was pinned down, taking heavy fire. My voice was the calmest thing in the chaos. "Dragon 1, this is Widow. I have thermal on the technicals, 200 meters from your Vic. I am shackled to your IR strobe. Time on target, 30 seconds, cleared hot." The ground commander's voice came back, strained, breathless. "Copy, Widow. You are our only bird. Get him off us. Get him off us." I didn't hesitate. I just squeezed the trigger. My CO's voice came over the command net moments later. "All business. Solid guns, Widow. That's a total systems kill. ODA is wheels up. RTB. That call sign, Iron Widow. I didn't choose it. It was given to me. It was yearned on a mission where I was the only pilot to fly through a flak trap, provide support, and make it back. In that world, in the one that actually matters, I am a legend. In my family's world, I'm the one they almost forgot to ask to bring potato salad. For years, I kept those worlds separate. My OPSEC, operational security, depended on it. But Mark, stewing in his humiliation, decided to do some research. He couldn't accept that the admin was someone his SEAL father respected. He thought I'd lied. And he decided he was going to expose me. Mark's humiliation didn't last long. It curdled, very quickly, into a nasty, obsessive kind of rage. He started a smear campaign, texting the whole family group chat. He'd gone researching and found a Maya Jensen on LinkedIn, a different one, who was an army logistician. "See? I told you." His texts read, triumphant. "She's a glorified supply clerk. Iron Widow, what a joke. She's disrespecting Irreal pilots." It was the same old story. Mark's version of reality was the only one that mattered. Just like when his brilliant college thesis, which I practically wrote, got him that first internship he always bragged about. Then it escalated. I got a text from my cousin Sarah, the only one in the family who ever stays out of the drama. "For your information," it said, "Mark is planning a surprise for you at Grandpa's 75th birthday party. He's making a tribute to real heroes slideshow." My stomach dropped. The text continued. "He says he's going to set the record straight about your stolen valor." That was it. That was the word. The stolen valor. A cold, clean fury washed over me, pushing out all the years of frustration and hurt. This wasn't a family squabble anymore. This wasn't about him being embarrassed at a barbecue. He was now accusing a commissioned officer of a federal crime. He was accusing me. I realized I'd been playing their game for my entire life, trying to win their emotional approval, trying to just be a Cena. That was over. I was going to stop playing their game and start using me rules. I didn't call my mom. I didn't text my uncle. I went to my office, sat down at my terminal, and my hands were perfectly steady as I composed an official email. I requested a formal meeting with my wing commander, General Hale, a 1-star and grizzled old-school aviator who'd been a mentor to me and was the one who personally approved my Distinguished Flying Cross. He was not a man who tolerated noise. I sat in his office, back straight, and laid it out. Sir, I have a civilian family member who is publicly accusing me of stolen valor. He intends to do so at an upcoming family event where my uncle, a retired Navy captain, will be present. I chose my words with clinical precision. This is a matter of professional integrity and, frankly, a potential OPSEC breach for the unit. General Hale's face, usually set in a kind of permanent, tired squint, hardened into granite. Captain, we do not allow the integrity of our aviators to be questioned by civilians. You're not going to that party alone? I took a steadying breath. He's making a slideshow, sir. The general almost smiled. Then we'll bring our own. My aide will coordinate. You just tell us when and where. Mark was busy in PowerPoint, picking out patriotic fonts and downloading JPEGs of the wrong helicopter. I was forwarding an official itinerary to a brigadier general's office. He thought he was planning an intervention. He had no idea he'd just triggered an alpha protocol. The VFW hall was exactly as tacky as I'd imagined. It smelled like stale beer and cheap sheet cake. The whole family was there for Grandpa's 75th, milling around under fluorescent lights. I saw Mark, my cousin, over by a projector screen, his face glowing with a smug, self-satisfied smirk. He was connecting his laptop, every movement full of that arrogant swagger he mistook for confidence. In the corner, my Uncle John, the retired SEAL, was watching me. His expression wasn't angry. It was worried, unreadable. He knew something was coming, but he didn't know what form it would take. I just stood there, my back straight, and waited. The trap was set. All I had to do was let him walk into it. A burst of microphone feedback squealed, and Mark tapped the mic. Okay, everyone. The chatter died down. As we celebrate Grandpa's amazing 75 years, I also want to take a moment to honor the real heroes in our family. He motioned to his dad. Like my dad, Captain John Jensen, Navy SEAL. There was a polite spatter of applause. Uncle John just gave a curt nod, his eyes still wary. But hero is a word that gets thrown around a lot, Mark continued, his voice dripping with fake sincerity. And some people, he paused, looking directly at me. Some people allow to steal that honor. He clicked a button on his laptop. The projector whirred and an image flashed onto the screen. It was a grainy, low-resolution photo of a woman in uniform. A woman who wasn't me. It was the LinkedIn profile. Underneath, in a big, ugly font, it said, "The Reality, Logistics Officer." Mark's voice boomed again. My cousin Timaya claims to be a pilot. She claims to have a call sign. But I found her actual service record. She's a supply clerk. The room was filled with gasps. I looked around. Aunt Karen's hand was at her chest, her face a mask of, "Oh, how could you?" I saw the pity, the disgust, the years of being the admin, the boring one, all crystallized in this one ugly moment. They believed him. Of course they did. It was easier than believing I was something more. Mark turned to me, his smile triumphant. So Maya, what do you have to say for yourself? Before I could even open my mouth, the main doors of the VFW hall swung open with a loud bang. Everyone turned, and in walked Brigadier General Hale. He wasn't in casual clothes. He was in his full-dress Class A uniform, the dark blue jacket, the perfectly creased pants, the fruit salad, of ribbons covering his chest, with the distinctive blue of the Distinguished Flying Cross right at the top. He was flanked by an aide, a young major, who was carrying a folded flag and a polished wooden display case. The entire room, the music, the chatter, the breathing, it all just stopped. From the corner, I heard a sharp sound. My Uncle John, the SEAL, had snapped to rigid, perfect attention. "General." His voice was rough. General Hale, who was scanning the room with eyes that could punch holes in steel, just nodded. "Captain." His gaze found me, and he gave a barely perceptible nod. Then he turned to the stage, and his voice boomed, filling every corner of that cheap wood-paneled hall. It was a voice that expected to be obeyed. "Mr. Mark Jensen, I am Brigadier General Hale. I am Captain Maya Jensen's commanding officer." He pointed at the projector. "You will turn off that projector." No, Mark was ashen. He looked like he'd been punched. He fumbled with the laptop, his hands shaking, and the screen went black. General Hale didn't wait. He walked right up to the stage and took the microphone out of Mark's limp hand. "I was told," he said, his voice now dangerously quiet, "that there was some confusion about my officer's service. Let me be clear." He nodded to his aide, who stepped forward and opened the wooden display case. Inside, on a bed of blue velvet, was another DFC and a set of wings. "Captain Maya Iron Widow Jensen," Hale said, his voice resonating with authority, "is not logistics. She is the lead pilot and instructor for a specialized aviation element that this family is not cleared to know about." He glanced at the dark screen. "The Maya Jensen you found online is a different person. An error my aide found in 30 seconds. He took a document from his aide. "She is not stolen valor." He let the words hang in the dead silent room. "She is actual valor." And then he began to read. "For heroism and extraordinary achievement, while participating in aerial flight, under intense enemy fire." My family was frozen. "With complete disregard for her own safety," Captain Jensen repeatedly maneuvered her aircraft to draw fire away from a compromised ground team, successfully engaging and destroying an enemy armor column, saving the lives of 12 American operators. I looked over at Aunt Karen. Her jaw was on the floor, her eyes wide with a kind of horrified awe. Mark was physically shaking, his face pale and slick with sweat. General Hale finished reading, folded the paper, and handed it to his aide. He then turned, not to me, but to my uncle. "Captain Jensen," he said, "man to man, uniform to uniform. Your son has publicly slandered a decorated officer of the United States Army. I trust you will handle this." My Uncle John's face was white. He walked stiffly, his back a steel rod, right up to his son. And that's when he said it. The words that had echoed in my head from the start. "Son, you will stand up. You will look your cousin in the eye, and you will apologize for your profound ignorance." And no, Mark's apology was incoherent. He was crying. My general just nodded at me, and we left. He had come to defend his officer. My uncle had to defend the uniform. Neither of them did it for me personally. They did it for the system they believed in. And that was more satisfying than any family argument I could have ever won. We walked out of the VFW hall, leaving the wreckage of my family's worldview behind in that tacky wood-paneled room. The cool night air felt electric, a stark contrast to the stale, suffocating atmosphere inside. General Hale didn't say much. He just walked me to his waiting staff car, the fabric of his uniform making a crisp, rhythmic sound in the silence. He stopped, turned to me, and his expression wasn't emotional. It was professional. It was resolute. "Captain," he said, his voice firm, "your record is secure. Don't let civilian static get in your six, understood?" I stood a little straighter. "Loud and clear, sir." He just gave a single, sharp nod, got in his car, and was gone. I stood there for a moment in the empty parking lot, just breathing. It was over. 1 year later. I stood on a sun-baked tarmac, the smell of jet fuel heavy in the air. The deep whump-whump-whumper of rotor blades was a familiar heartbeat in the distance. I wasn't captain anymore. The gold oak leaf on my collar had been replaced by a silver one. I was Major Jensen, and I was in command. In front of me stood a semicircle of new trainee pilots, all of them young, all of them sharp, and all of them watching me with a focus I'd never seen in my family's eyes. They were listening to Amma. They were here to learn from Ame. From Major Iron Widow. This was my new family. It wasn't a family built on obligation or shared history, or the toxic, unspoken rules of who was the golden child and who was the disappointment. This was a family forged in competence. It was built on mutual respect, on knowing that the person to your left and your right was just as skilled, just as dedicated as you were. There was no Mark here, no Aunt Karen patting my hand and dismissing my life's work as a cute hobby. Here my skills were not just seen. They were the only thing that mattered. The old familiar ache of being invisible. It was just gone. It had been replaced by the solid, quiet weight of earned authority. I was in my new office later that week, a space that was mine, a space that reflected my rank and my responsibilities. I was reviewing after-action reports when an email notification pinged. The subject line made me pause. It just said, "Thinking of you." The sender was my Uncle John. I hesitated for a second, that old, familiar tension tightening in my chest. I opened it. It was short. He wrote that he'd been doing some reading, and that the AAR, the after-action report, from the mission that earned me my DFC had recently been declassified to a level he could access. "Maya," he wrote. "I served 25 years in the teams, and I thought I'd seen it all." I read that report. 3 times. I could almost hear his rough, quiet voice. "I never saw combat like that. What you did? Flying through that, I have no words. I just want you to know that I am proud. Unbelievably proud." I read the email again, and again. This wasn't the gushing, superficial praise my family heaped on Mark for his corner office. This wasn't an apology for their behavior. This was something more. This was a professional, a warrior, a retired Navy captain, looking at my record, at the effects, and acknowledging my competence. It was the respect of a peer. I took a deep breath. The last knot of tension I never knew I was carrying just dissolved. I typed a simple reply, "Thank you, Uncle John." And I meant it. A moment later, my phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it. It was the family group chat I hadn't looked at in months. The sender was Mark. "Hey guys," it read. "Finally closed that big deal. Anyone want to go in on a boat share with me? Thinking of calling it the Golden Boy." A small, tired smile touched my lips. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even frustration. It was nothing. It was like looking at a picture from a life that wasn't mine anymore. I saw his words, his desperate need for everyone to see him, and I just felt pity. I tapped the top of the conversation, scrolled down to the list of members, and pressed the button. Leave conversation. My cousin spent his life chasing a title. But my uncle knew a title is just a name. What matters is the one you earn. And Iron Widow was earned in fire, and respected by those who understood it. If you've ever had your skills dismissed by people who couldn't possibly understand them, tell us in the comments how you finally proved them wrong. In this community, we salute your expertise.